In the past 2 decades, we have seen several controversial video games that brought dishonor to themselves. Nearly every video game out there has had controversy, but some are highly offensive, disgusting, and downright awful. Welcome to Binge TV, and today we'll be presenting you with the top 10 most controversial video games ever made. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and to turn notifications on for more videos like this one. Without further ado, let's begin. 10th place, JFK Reloaded. First in the line, we have JFK Reloaded. The game was designed to recreate the assassination of John F. Kennedy. It had a controversial subject matter and allowed you to carry out the horrific assassination of John F. Kennedy and get scored based on how similar your approach was to the actual crime. The game starts just before JFK's limousine comes into view, about 28 seconds before the first shot was fired, according to Warren et al. The game ends when the limo disappears into the tunnel or a certain amount of time has passed from the beginning of the game. 9th place, Duke Nukem 3D. Next in the line, we have Duke Nukem 3D. The game features the adventures of the titular Duke Nukem, who fights against an alien invasion on Earth. The game was attacked by some critics who alleged that it promoted pornography and murder. In response to the criticism encountered, censored versions of the game were released in certain countries to avoid it being banned altogether. In Australia, the game was originally refused classification on release. 3D Realms repackaged the game with the parental lock feature permanently enabled, although a patch available on the 3D Realms website allowed the user to revert the game into its uncensored US version. The game not only included nudity, but also featured violence and gore. 8th place, Doom. Doom was infamous for its high levels of graphic violence and satanic imagery, which generated controversy from a broad range of groups. Doom for the Genesis 32X was one of the first video games to be given an M for Mature rating from the Entertainment Software Rating Board due to its violent gore and nature. Yahoo Games listed it as one of the top 10 most controversial games of all time. It was criticized by religious organizations for its diabolic undertones and was dubbed a mass murder simulator by critic and Kilogy Research Group founder David Grossman. The game sparked controversy in the United States when it was found that Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who committed the Columbine High School massacre on April 20th, 1999, were avid players of the game. Harris said in his journal that the killing would be like playing Doom, and it'll be like the LA riots, the Oklahoma bombing, World War II, Vietnam, Duke Nukem, and Doom all mixed, and that his shotgun was straight out of the game. A rumor spread afterward that Harris had designed a Doom level that looked like the high school, populated with representations of Harris's classmates and teachers, and that he practiced for the shootings by playing the level repeatedly. 7th place, 6 Days in Fallujah. 6 Days in Fallujah, the story of a group of U.S. Marines, drew heavy criticism from military members after it was announced. A tactical third-person shooter set during the Iraq War, 6 Days in Fallujah proved to be so controversial that it never even made it to release. Konami and developer Atomic Games trumpeted the game's realism, but many people saw this as being in poor taste considering the Iraq War was still ongoing at the time. Veterans and parents of soldiers who died in the war were particularly critical of the game, with Tim Collins, a former lieutenant colonel of the 1st Battalion Royal Irish Regiment, calling the game flippant and arguing that it's particularly insensitive given what happened in Fallujah for Konami to release such a game. Konami announced that it was stepping down as publisher of 6 Days in Fallujah on April 27, 2009, and Atomic Games was shuttered later that year after failing to find another publisher. 6th place, Kingpin Life of Crime. Kingpin Life of Crime received a fair amount of controversy due to its graphic depiction of violence and heavy use of profanity. The game picked up increased media attention because it was the first high-profile first-person shooter to be released since the Columbine High School massacre. At that point, computer games were facing increasing pressure from Congress and lobby groups seeking an answer to what had influenced the Columbine killers. The game was debated on the floor of the U.S. Senate and was singled out for criticism in the National Institute on Media and the Family's 1999 report on violent video games. 5th place, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 generated several controversies. One of the most arguably infamous of those controversies is found in the game's 4th level, No Russian, where the player controls an undercover CIA agent who participates in a mass shooting at a Moscow airport to gain the trust of a Russian terrorist group. This level was largely criticized for allowing players to partake in a terrorist attack, and international versions of the game were subject to censorship due to the level's content. Allegations of homophobic content arose when Infinity Ward released a video titled "Fight Against Grenade Spam." Some video game journalists chastised the video's use of profanity and that the video's title forms the acronym FAGS, a pejorative for gay people. In response, Infinity Ward removed the video from YouTube. 4th place, Saw, the video game. Saw was seen by many critics as torture porn, filled with gruesome death traps. Its violence and visual intensity sparked many allegations that the main goal of the game is to harm the characters. The game contains one scene that allows players to cut open bodies and sift through their insides to retrieve a key. It was stated that this scenario was sick and tasteless. Robert Workman of Game Daily agreed with the sentiment that moral messages presented an issue to the game and included it in the top 10 controversial games of 2009. Still, even with its graphic content, the game managed to avoid being banned by many countries. 3rd place, Manhunt. Manhunt is a furtive survival horror game developed by Rockstar North, in which players control a death row prisoner forced to participate in a series of snuff films that task him with carrying out several different executions. The controversy surrounding the game stems primarily from the graphic way the player executes enemies. The violence in the game drew the attention of U.S. Representative Joe Backup. He said it's telling kids how to kill someone, and it uses vicious, sadistic, and cruel methods to kill. The media was also drawn into the debate. The Globe and Mail wrote, "Manhunt is a venal disconnect for the genre. There's no challenge, just assembly line ritualistic slaughter. It's less a video game and more a weapon of personal destruction. This is about stacking bodies. Perhaps the scariest fact of all, Manhunt is so user-friendly that any sharp 12-year-old could navigate through the entire game in one sitting." The game was banned in few countries when on July 28, 2004, the game was linked to the murder of 14-year-old Stefan Pekira by his 17-year-old friend Warren LeBlanc in Leicestershire, England. Initial media reports claimed that police had found a copy of the game in LeBlanc's bedroom. 2nd place, Left Behind Eternal Forces. Left Behind Eternal Forces was subjected to criticism from various watchdog groups, claiming that it promoted religious warfare and bigotry. Disbarred attorney Jack Thompson claimed the game is about killing people for their lack of faith in Jesus, which he claimed made it incompatible with basic Christian doctrine, and subsequently broke his connections with the publisher Tyndale House. The Christian Alliance for Progress decried it as anti-ethical to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Campaign to Defend the Constitution was also listed among critics and cited religious intolerance and violence as a large and objectionable part of the game. Based on the Left Behind book series, Eternal Forces gained a lot of negative attention. 1st place, Postal II. Last in the line, we have Postal II. The game received attention for its violent gameplay and was responsible for multiple controversies. In 2004, the Office of Film and Literature Classification banned Postal II in New Zealand, citing high levels of violent content and animal violence. In Australia, the game was not rated by the Australian Classification Board, but its multiplayer expansion Share the Pain was refused classification by the board in October 2005. In Sweden, the Chancellor of Justice took the Swedish distributor of the game to court. He was prosecuted with an illegal depiction of violence, a crime falling under the Swedish Freedom of Speech Act. The court dismissed the case on December 12, 2006. The game was removed from the German version of Steam due to its content. The players take the role of a man known as Postal II as he wanders around the city gunning down hostiles and anything else that gets in his way. The unthinkable acts of violence and racism appear on a near constant basis and in many ways. It seems as if the main goal of this game was to offend its players, and it does a good job of that with things such as being able to put guns up cats' rear ends and then use them as silencers. So what are your thoughts on these controversial video games? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, make sure to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time for more.